Jeff, you good with calling the meeting to order?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with invocation and pledge of allegiance. Bill, would you lead us in prayer?
I would. Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come to you today, God, just thank you, Lord, for an opportunity to be back in your presence. God, I just ask you, Lord, as we go through this meeting, God, that you just give us the wisdom, Lord, to guide, Lord, to lead. God, I just ask you just to be with us as we go through the service. Lead us, guide us, direct us, in your name we pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So everybody had a chance to review the agenda? Y'all got anything you want to add to the agenda? Hearing none. Is Matt Cavines, am I saying that right? Cavins? Yeah, would you mind coming up to the podium and,
So we have the 5 acres under contract currently on 113. It's zoned for R2. Also on the property on the other side of the airstrip, and we're building some houses over there. So we're just looking at splitting this lot into 3 separate tracks, each one having their own driveway off of 113. We've contacted the DOT. They are fine with the locations of the driveways, but just want to try to get it approved before purchasing, so.
so does that third lot, does that create, is that an easement being requested, or is that going to be?
That is an easement. If you look to the property to the left, there's already an easement running to the 5-acre tract. Because there's more lots down through there that are not mine, that somebody else currently owns. So that's why we continued that easement, just because there's already an easement to the adjacent lots. So
Okay.
we did not want to landlock them. I do believe somebody else is building a house over there, a mobile home or something. I'm not aware. I just heard that somebody was bringing in a mobile home over there through Clayton Homes and building something over there for his daughter, I believe. So,
But you've not started any construction or anything?
no, I have not. No. The only construction we have done anything on is on the opposite side of the airstrip, which is already split up into 1-acre tract, so.
Okay. Gentlemen?
Yeah, I do have a quick question. On the 50-foot easement, you said it continues on. Was this original easement here that comes and makes the L shape? Or
No,
where
it
did
is
the
not.
easement
So
go to before?
currently, there is no easement there.
Okay,
So we were just trying to help the neighbors out in case they needed to access their property. I don't mind not doing an easement. I'm fine with not doing an easement. We will just need access to that back track that is 2 acres there.
okay.
We're not trying to split that 2-acre tract into multiple lots. It would just be 1 2-acre tract there. The only reason we continued it, according to the surveyor, is because the easement already ended when it touched the property. They just did not continue it according to the deed and plat from the lawyer's office in the title work.
Okay, thank you. I'm just looking up something now and keep up with it so I can see something.
And you're building houses on these lots?
Yes.
What size houses?
These single-family homes, probably around the, anywhere between the 1,400 and 2,000 square foot range.
I mean, I may be out of order here, but why are we even seeing this? I mean, as far as this board, it's a 3 lot, it falls under exemption plat that we're gonna cover tonight. should be able to be covered in the office over there. But I do have a question, that I would like to make sure that is, if DOT has approved this, provide that letter prior to that office approving this split for those locations on those driveways. I'm not saying you're dishonest or anything like that, but just a verbal saying DOT's okay with it.
Right.
Our office would not split that without that being a state highway.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that. We just try to talk to the DOT ahead of time, just to make sure that, I figure if there was a hiccup, because I went to Glenda, talked to her about it, since it's already zoned correctly for that area, didn't seem like it was be a problem, but I know since it's a state highway, I wanted to go ahead and make sure the DOT was okay with it. We cannot submit the survey to them until it's recorded, but we cannot record it until, obviously, it's purchased from the buyer, which is Steve Ayers, which designed this whole airstrip and everything out there currently.
Well, they should be able to provide you a letter that they've seen this. They may
Okay.
not be able to do that, but that's what I'm
Right.
saying. I
Yeah, we
mean,
can get a letter, that's no
You
problem.
need to provide a letter to their office prior to that these locations are
Yep.
good. I would also, if that 50-foot drive easement is only from the southern property line southward, with you publicly, it looks like there's a possibility of 4 other tracks accessing that, so you're gonna have possibility of a total of 5 people using that single drive.
Correct. I mean, personally, I was just trying not to landlock the neighbors. They can technically go around the opposite side through the dirt road that goes around the backside of the hangars that are currently there, and then access it through that way. So that's not a problem, taking that out. And we can make just that one section with, we have the 50-foot requirement for that lot anyway, off of 113, so I'm fine with doing away with the easement. I do know the neighbor was having issues trying to get water to his lot. That's not my problem, so I was just trying to, I told him that whenever I presented, I would try to help him out, because according to Haralson County, he said that they could access it through my property that we're looking at, and I was like, well, that's, obviously gonna be a problem going forward. I don't want somebody without legal representation saying that he could use that area for a water line. So he's in talks with the county about that, so I'm fine with doing away with that easement if need be.
So is there a formal packet filled out on this, or he's not asking for rezoning,
No,
correct?
he's just wanting a verbal from that. I'm not sure.
Well, I don't think that falls under our purview to just,
No, I
you're
mean,
just kind of letting us know.
Yeah, I presented to Glenda
And more,
and Terry here, and Terry recommended that I come before the board and talk to you guys about it, so that's why I'm here.
Terry, do you have any concerns about this development? Sure.
If I could let you both look at, or all look at this, I've highlighted what they. I'd like to present this to the board. It's a little more illustrated, but what concerns me is this was, I believe this one was presented to the clerk of the court years ago and never came through our office. I don't see where it came through our office. And if my concerns are is the airstrip, if it's still in use. If it's still in use, then we have concerns about the buffer between the lots and something catastrophic happening and careen over into somebody's backyard. I don't know if it's in use. It looks like it to me. I just noticed a new water line that was trenched directly across over to where somebody is planning to put a Clayton Homes home, a modular home or what have you, and it's actually 75 feet from the runway. So
I have some problems with that. And the access to this, from what I understand, is gonna be this pink roadway proposed, and then you're gonna go right through here to catch these other drives. And granted, it is zoned residential. I don't know how it got zoned residential. It was before my time. I don't even know if we had a zoning board at that time, but I believe it was in '89, but this is a more recent.
Well, I think what he's, to clarify, that pink highlighted portion is accessing other properties. That's a state highway 113 right there where everybody have an individual driveway. No, the blue is
Yeah, the blue
113.
Is 113, yeah. You're right. But
So,
it's something for us to not just pass through. We need to know all the liabilities of.
well, I guess that's kind of my point is if it's not being asked for a rezoning, there's really nothing, no action for us to take, in my opinion. It's more of a permitting issue and a building codes issue if there's any requirements there, unless you guys got a different opinion.
I mean, on the track too, there's enough acreage in there, just roughly, I'm looking at 50 by 150, so there's enough acreage in there to manipulate that line there. I foresee not having an easement. He needs to plat that as a flag lot to the back, not create a easement across track two, and there not be an easement at all for any of it. If the southern properties, if there's not an existing 50-foot easement currently owned that's burdening this tract of property, why create an easement to allow more people come out to use that single drive
When they already got.
when they've already got an easement from the south side to come through there? I wouldn't connect it at all. I would add the easement portion on track two to the track three and not have any easements at all. I think that's gonna clear up part of your concern with the permitting office, because in our regs, we don't allow it to create easements for, only time there's easements there is a current landlocked piece of property. He's trying to create a landlocked piece with an easement, and our regs don't allow that. So if he wants to redo that and put that proposal in there, that's gonna solve one of his problems. But there again, he's gonna have to have, being those small lots, you can't pull a permit until he gets soils analysis done. And the letter from the DOT to the office over there and all that, those are certain things that is part of our regs anyway.
My concerns are the life safety issues and working out the mechanics. Then we can work out the mechanics, but if the airfield is still being used and that short of a buffer, I know that it's not but just small aircraft, but I can't see it being safe and in good conscience passing something and let him go ahead and build a home when it would be so easy for an aircraft to run into your backyard. And I would hate to see us on the news or something like that, but it's a life safety. In a new subdivision, that one is a different. I'll speak to the board. I believe it's 2,000 feet on a new construction for a airport or runway. What the limitations on that are for crop dusting, or I know that I have heard that people used to rent planes and go up and skydive from there. So I don't know how long that's been. It looks to me like the grass is beaten down like it had been used just recently. But I don't know that for a fact. I haven't seen anybody taking off from there.
Matt, do you know if this is an active airstrip?
Yes, so this airstrip is registered with the FAA. So when they approved all this, we have 75-foot setbacks from the airstrip on both sides, which was approved. So it's already in the deed work that way, that we have 75-foot setbacks as the back, so it oversees the typical 15-foot setback buffers for R2.
But you're showing a 30, so is that 30 included in
I have
it?
an updated one. if y'all
Okay.
wanna see it.
Yeah, this one shows a 30, so if you
Yeah.
platen it with a 75, that'd be a whole lot different ballgame.
So that shows we still have plenty of buildable area.
Oh, thank you.
So this other one is no good?
The surveyor originally drew it up with a 30 or 15-foot setback. There was a miscommunication there. He was basing off of Haralson County's codes, not the deed work. So once we went back to the deed work, he changed it to 75. So this is just a preliminary drawing. This is not approved or anything like that. It's just, I took it to the permit office to make sure they were okay with it before I proceed any further. So I'm just trying to cover all grounds. I don't want to get in a situation where I buy a piece of property and then I can't build houses on it. So I'm just trying to do my due diligence.
Linda, Vicky, is there any action for this zoning board to take on this development here? I mean, this is just a FYI, or what's this?
Yeah, this is just to clear up some things for him.
So, I mean, Terry, I mean, it's your department, the permit department, where you want to issue building permits, so.
The only thing I had a problem with was the life safety issue with the active runway and the buffer zone. I mean, if,
Does the 75 feet satisfy that concern? From 30 feet, as it, I believe it is on your plat? So that gives you, 250-foot wide airstrip, essentially, right?
And it would be a grandfathered area strip, we wouldn't have to go by what's in the.
That's right.
That's correct.
So,
There's already existing 6 or 7 houses out there along it already. So, I mean,
I definitely respect the concern, Terry, but I don't know that there's anything this board can do about it.
the liability is the issue of life safety and something catastrophic happening with anything that could happen that would go into that backyard of the residence. I would refer to the attorney to see if we're within the within some type of tolerance about liability with the county and issuing the permits with aircraft coming in to a runway within a limited amount of distance. And I don't know what the code would be on a situation like what we're looking at with a small landing strip with the houses that close. I've not ever had any kind of questions like this before, so.
And I think you're asking the right questions, and caution, but I would just say, kind of to what Jason alluded to, if you have the letter from the state for the driveways, then you have the letter from the FAA that says this is required setbacks, and it's in the deeds, and the split complies with our zoning ordinances. I agree with Jason as well on the easement. I wouldn't create an issue where there's not one, and I understand why you're trying to do it, but at the same time, I think it's gonna create some complexity moving forward with that last lot. But that'd be my recommendation, is bring that paperwork with you to them, and then let them give it to the lawyer and say, hey, here's what we've been presented. Any issue, risk to the county approving the split.
Exactly. I mean,
So-
if I don't have any problems with the lots being grandparented in as residential lots whatsoever.
Right.
I mean, I'm good with that. The only thing I see is a life safety issue with how it's presented on the plans and the distance between the airstrip itself and the structure, even in the backyard, where there's, potential to life safety issues. And that's all my concern is the distance between the airfield and that, and just putting Haralson County citizens in harm's way when we are right here trying to decide whether it's prudent to let them go ahead as plans. I mean, it just seems like to me that someone higher up than I in the building department should make that decision as a group. And that's why I'm bringing it before the board. That's why it's even here, just a life safety issue. No, I don't have any trouble letting other situations go with a residential lots and everything meets the requirements, even though it does meet requirements. There's a life safety factor that is always going to be a concern to me. But that's the whole purpose of this, for me. Have any questions?
I mean, I have no problem asking the attorney if you want to look into any liability issues, or maybe there's a waiver that goes along with the building permit that, and even is passed on to the homeowner, whoever buys the house, because I understand you're building them to sell, right? So, I mean, but I don't, other than following our current codes and ordinances, I don't know what we do. As long as it falls within that, and, I mean, we can check the IBC and see if there's any setbacks or anything like that for runways, but,
Well, there is a life safety code, and a lot of that's done by the fire department, but there is a life safety code, and anything that you find that's you know, not can be built in that kind of situation, you have to follow the life safety code.
right.
And it's quite an extensive code itself.
Correct.
You have to take that into consideration. I might add that the safety features, I don't see any safety features like, a lot of times they'll have berms or something like that. The actual runway on one of the sides falls off and lends itself to careening into those new structures. So I don't know that that's a liability as far as not saying that if you intend to build these houses, then you have to put a berm or the safety features that go along. I don't know where you'd find that. So it's out of my expertise.
But there's been no permit requested, right? You're just trying to see,
Yeah, the only permits I request is for the other side, and we've already had one of those approved and started, so, and I know they just put a mobile home on the other side of the airstrip right next to the property I already own, just within the past year or so, I just trying to figure out what the situation was with these, if we didn't have it on the other side, so.
I think what you're, if you came in for the existing parcel that's there,
Yeah,
then you could say that everything grandfathered in follows. But since we're wanting to change
But
it, then you've got to bring it to whatever's in effect today.
right.
And so that's where Terry's concern
Okay,
comes
that's
in
fine.
to
Yeah,
look
that's
to
fine.
see.
I'm just
And
trying to make
so
sure I don't need to stop on the other side of the property, the other side of the airstrip where we're already currently building, that's already approved, so that's all I was asking. I don't mind.
I can't see anything that would hold you accountable for any of those that are existing parcels over there.
Okay.
And even if you decided to do one on this 5-acre tract, you know, those things that are in the deed, whatever's grandfather brought forward, and I'm not speaking in law, the attorney's here, but anything of that,
Yeah,
if you presented it as what was previously there,
right.
whatever fell to that. But when
Okay.
you want to manipulate it or change it, that's when you're gonna have to bring it forth to current regs.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm good with that. Whatever I need to do, I'm fine with.
I think in the application for the subdivision, when you give it to, you know, the office, you just need to bring the letter that the state said they approved the driveways and the FAA letter saying the setback 75 feet. And then I agree with what they're saying. We just need to give that to the attorney, let them look at it. I'm sure there's a lot of other communities built around airstrips. I don't know
Right.
that much about them. We don't have a lot of them come through here, but I'm sure they'll look up some
Right.
common, you know, properties and figure out what the rulings are. And again, to Terry's point, if there's supposed to be a berm now, if they've changed the codes and requirements, that'll all be brought out when the review's done.
Yeah, I don't know if the airstrips I mean, they have to keep it maintained just for FAA regulations, and they have so many regulations they already maintain for it, because I don't own the airstrip.
Right.
So, I've never seen planes flying there, but with it being registered with the FAA, you can't say nobody's using it, so.
Right.
Yeah, I'll work on that with, my attorney and everything, so.
I have one more thing to clarify that I may have misspoke about the I may have misspoke about the 75-foot buffer. I'm dealing with another situation, and it's kind of blending in. The modular home that they're bringing in are supposed, I don't know if it's there now or not, but I have a problem with that because when I said the 75-foot buffer, it is actually from the structure to the edge of the field is 78 feet. Because I made a site visit and measured where the edge of the field to the structure or proposed structure. The footings are in. The footings were done without my inspection. They called me out and they had already done it. But I called the owner and the owner said that it is, well, he had called me to find out what the problem was. And I called him back and he said it is actually to the structure, or the structure was going to be that right where I measured at 78 feet. That doesn't include steps or decks or anything. So I already have a problem with that we're dealing with now. So I may have misspoke when I said 75-foot buffer because it's not. It's on those plans. It's smaller or less than. So his backyard is almost up to the airfield. So the 75 feet or 78 feet from the edge of the field to that structure. So it's pretty darn close. So those are the kind of concerns that I felt like I needed to let the board. I didn't want to take on that responsibility and somebody else hearing it.
And I assume you recognize you can't build anything in that buffer zone.
Correct, yeah, so. Yes, everybody out there maintains a 75-foot buffer. If you take a trip out there, the people that are currently living there, even their outbuildings and storage sheds are not within that 75-foot buffer.
Okay. Y'all have any more on item number 1? All right, moving on. Item 2, Pam Fennell, subdivision questions.
Something else, I've never done this before, so I really don't know exactly what I'm doing. But on this piece of property here at 346 Loftus Road, they had a recorded plat back, I think it was in 2002, or maybe it's 2006, where it shows an easement that comes through the property there for those 7 lots. I don't know what the recommendation was back then on if you actually have to put down asphalt or if you can actually do a gravel driveway through there. If not, if there's something that could possibly be done, if I purchased this property and we broke it down into maybe 2 or 3 lots and could create a path down through there by buying all 7 lots, but it's kind of, a little bit of an undesirable area right there that I would like to try to clean that up and make that road look really nice for the other new houses that's there.
So your question is, if you buy all these lots, can you reduce it down to fewer lots?
Well, either can we put in a gravel road for that 30-foot easement instead of having to do asphalt? Or if we can't reduce that down and do the gravel, if maybe we could actually reduce the amount of lots and break it down to some agreement that maybe you could do a path that you could do gravel with.
Well, I think as Jason alluded to earlier, if you buy it and then do any new subdivision on it, it would have to conform to our new ordinances, which wouldn't allow any easements, correct?
Correct. What's the problem?
So she could keep the easement as is, right? But if you wanted to do have it newly surveyed and divided back out, then it would not technically be allowed to have an easement on it. Is that correct?
I mean, this one's kind of unique. I mean, this plat was recorded back then. The problem, the only thing that's, mean, it's platted this way, but in the Q Public and in the tax assessor's way it shows, tract 7 has all the acreage for the 30-foot easement included into it.
So Jason is a surveyor, he understands a lot more about this situation. So, what would you need to do? She's trying to clean it up.
I mean,
I don't have a problem with that,
It's
but
kind of, I mean, the piece of property is I mean,
yeah. I mean, if she wanted to do 3, she'd have to cut that and make 3 flag lots, or 2 flag lots.
yeah. I mean, there's kind of rotten hard space right here. I mean, technically, those lots are there, there's a plat on it, it's there.
Yeah, but if she buys all of it.
She bought, yeah, but, well, be careful. She buys in 7 different deeds, she bought them all individual pieces of property, then they're all individual. The tax parcels are there and
Well, I
everything.
think that the quitclaim deed actually claims them all together. You want to see that?
I mean, I can, but as far as, I'm assuming it's just we're just questioning an answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's total shown as lots, 1, 2, 3, that, credit court. I mean, it claims that this survey by those lots. Total acreage. Still.
Yes, my question is, so what's the end goal? I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out is,
I would like, Randy and I would like to actually build 7 houses there, but,
okay,
I don't know that y'all are gonna allow that or not. But if we have to put, asphalt and stuff in, I don't think that it's really gonna be feasible to build 7 houses right there, cause it's such a small area, and that asphalt and stuff is gonna be so expensive.
so you're asking if you could put gravel on the 30-foot easement?
I'd like to know if we could do the 30, put gravel on the 30-foot easement. If not, what is a solution that we could divide this down that would be able to be on a, as I said, maybe a path or whatever you want to call it, that you could get away with breaking the lots down well, actually combining them and making them less lots.
Are all these gonna be served individual wells, individual septics?
Several of them already have wells on them, but they can be done in wells. But also, there is county water on that road right there. I'm not real sure if the first one, lot 7, if it actually has county water or not. Because I paid, across from this adjacent is Wethington Road, and I paid the county to actually run water all the way down that Wethington Road several years ago. Well, actually about 4 years ago.
So you'd like to build houses on these lots here as shown?
I would love to, yes.
Okay.
What are they all zoned
That's what I was about to look
R1
up.
already?
I think they are, but Justin might have it already up there.
How that,
Didn't show it on.
it doesn't list it on that, it gives it a,
It should be on that, the map she gave you, the Q Public map, it'll show well, no, it doesn't.
no, it does, it doesn't show the zone.
like maybe you, when she put that in, didn't pick up all of it.
Yeah, on Q Public, it looks like that the easement only starts at the back side of number 7, but on the plat, it shows that it goes all the way up to have road frontage there.
Yeah, that's what Q Public's showing, that, as Jason said earlier, that lot 7 owns the cul-de-sac and the rest of the easement. Do you know what it's owned already?
A1?
Oh, it is?
But I don't think Q Public would be correct versus this. It just didn't pick up this dividing line. The plats actually.
So if I'm, the plat's what it is.
These plants were done before, our office, we did not take over doing the plants until 2017.
These were done in 2006.
But to get it out of A1 to build on it, it would have to be 5-acre lots.
To do this, so it's been recorded through the state, so it is legal.
So, you're saying it's legal, meaning she can gravel it, call it an easement, and develop all 7 lots?
States it on that plat that it's an easement, it's an easement. The clerk of court's office just failed to call our office, to see if it had been approved. And at the time, the clerk, the one that signed this, called me because I said something about it. He said, here's the House bill, once it goes through our office and is recorded with the state, there's nothing you can do about it.
So you're saying that if she come and applies for building permits for each one of these lots, by law, you have to grant her a building permit?
Yep.
So, does that answer your question?
It does,
Not what I
but
want to tell you, but does that answer your question?
yes, but are you gonna, can I do it on the gravel?
I think there is something in the ordinance, though, that you would have to disclaim on there that it will be a gravel road not maintained by the county,
Absolutely.
handed over, all that kind of stuff. I think there are some requirements around that.
Yes, it would have to be written out on each one of those
Yeah.
that, they are to maintain that road. Each one of them would have to do that.
Same way with county water. If you're looking for that to go on here, I think that would have to be stated that these will all be well, served by well, if you don't intend on paying to have that done.
I'd cross the county water deal before I ever done anything.
You do what now?
I'd go across the street and cross that option of county water before I did anything. But as far as the lots being platted or whatever, the way they are, I mean, you're gonna have to get soils on them and everything. I'm just looking at the acreage on the total on here, the 8.8, and I'm going around counting all the lots. The acreage in the 30-foot access easement's not accounted for in here. Best I can tell. Got 1, 2, 3.2, 4.2, 5.2, 6.2, 7.2, 8. So there's an acre, I guess roughly it's got an acre in the easement area itself.
Yeah, I showed the front one being 1.80, and then, 2 is 1.0. Well, I'm sorry, 6 is 1.0, 5 is 1.04, same, 3 is 1.29, number 2 is 1, and 1 is 1. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6,
Yeah, I think track 7 with the 1.8, it's the way it got mapped by our previously mapper, which included the easement. She included it into track 7.
7.
So that whole easement area would be owned by the track 7 person. The way this is, the acreage and everything works out. And I'm just making an assumption and trying to read into what is mapped and what is here.
Is there a way to get that out of there and just make it a complete easement versus being with lot 7?
So then you're gonna get in a situation, who owns the easement?
Okay. All right, well, it sounds like y'all answered my questions.
You want this quick? Lynn?
Yeah, I really
That-
don't mind.
Any further on item number 2? All right. Item number 3, new camper ordinance. Somebody bringing that before the board, or?
Okay. So, feeds back a little bit. I'm too loud for this microphone. We have added this camper ordinance, or we haven't added it, but we're proposing this camper ordinance in an attempt to, I think there's been a rise in people living in mobile homes but recreational trailers on homes, and those, of course, don't really meet our standards for residential living. So in order to enforce that, we're going to have to, have a standard for residential occupancy, which is included, that's that first red block that you see. And then we've defined travel trailer and recreational vehicle.
We
And-
don't have a copy of that.
I think it's right here. It's
Where? Oh. Behind the 50 definitions, okay.
Yeah,
I knew
kind
I'd
of a
seen it
weird
earlier,
place.
but
I thought I had
they're all
saw it
running
too.
together, okay.
Page 4.
Okay.
yeah, so we had to add those two definitions so that we could then later, in section 50-9, have permitted residential occupancies, which are your traditional homes, mobile homes, like manufactured homes.
So is this something that you're handing to us tonight and asking us to read over, not asking necessarily for a vote, or what are we asking here?
I believe what we are asking for is for you guys to either provide a motion to approve, a motion to approve with changes, or a motion to deny, so that we can then publish and it can go before the board. Is that correct?
I believe it has to be advertised so that they have a hearing first,
Yeah.
because it
Before
affects
they
the
provide their
zoning.
motion, okay.
And this is not to try to stop people that are building houses and living in a camper while they're building the house. This is more, it's being brought to us by the marshal to help alleviate a lot of the complaints that we're getting of people living on it, on properties that are not designated for something like that. They're seeing a rise in criminal activity along where some of these are taking place, and they need a way to alleviate that. But we
So-
do need, we needed you to review it, then it'll be advertised and come to you for a vote or recommendation to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, so this is just for them to review
This is
tonight,
just for them to review today.
and they'll vote.
At their next meeting, if it's been advertised properly in advance.
I mean, I'm fine with reviewing it, and, well, we wouldn't need to have a hearing until we see if there are any changes that we would like to implement, correct?
I think we'll have to have one either way.
No, I'm talking
Yeah,
about, we wouldn't need to schedule the hearing until we meet
Right,
again to.
if you would like some changes, if you would go ahead and get it sent in to them so that we could redistribute it to all of you.
Yeah.
To see, and at that point, if everybody's good with it, then we advertise it and get it done. 'Cause it's just a time-consuming process, and
Yeah, so would it be fair to ask the board to review it, and by the middle of next week, just email Vicky with any changes you would like to make to it? And then I guess you would put together
I'll send it to Ms.
all the changes. I mean, to be fair, Jeff may want to change something that I don't want to change. so
right, well, that's
we
why
would-
that's why we said, if we could.
Okay.
I do want to point out that the prohibited residential occupancies will include not just RVs, but shipping containers and accessory buildings. You guys may know why, but shipping containers seal pretty tight, so there's special ventilation requirements. This is just as much about the beautification of Haralson County as it is the safety of Haralson County citizens. These are not meant to live in. RVs for like long periods of time.
So you're saying that,
I think you're gonna have to define some of that a little more.
yeah,
than
because,
what's in
people
here.
are building homes out of shipping containers
Yeah,
and like putting HVAC systems, I mean, they're,
I mean, my neighbor just bought $190,000 travel trailer. We gonna tell him he can't put it on his property to live in?
there's a permitted one on Jacksonville Road that's
So
under.
It
that's
doesn't
all
fit
stuff
your
you-
minimum requirements.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing is, we allow them to stay in an RV while they're building.
Correct.
It has an 18
Now,
month
I don't believe that's what he was asking.
Oh, I'm saying
No.
that's another thing we need to look at, because that's not,
No, but that's allowed. I think that's already allowed within our,
but this prohibited is prohibited.
Oh, okay, so we may need to draft some permit language. Okay.
okay. No, it was my understanding that that was not going to take that away. It was not intended to, let's put it that way.
Yeah, but the wording kind of does, so.
So, and questions as to some of the problems, we'd be happy to have the marshal talk to y'all. too.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where there's problems with it, but I'm just saying, this gentleman just sold everything he had and bought this and plans on traveling, but he may live in Haralson County for 6 months. And at a certain point in time in winter, I know he's got family land, it's out in Wisconsin. Well, he don't wanna live up there in 5 feet of snow. So that's what I'm saying, I get what we're saying, pulling in a camper to live in and all that, but I agree there needs to be some restrictions to what can be, but that's gonna be that's gonna be a touchy subject for me and probably a lot of others.
I don't see a problem with living in a camper. What I see a problem with is there's places that you can go that there's campers on people's properties. And I often wonder where the sewage is going.
Exactly.
How are they getting power to these things? Because, where I live, there's quite a few of them, I'm thinking, and I have made a complaint, I'm thinking, this can't be safe.
Right, and that is one of the things there, we have several where we have complaints of that, and
But I'm like.
there's
I'm
nowhere
like-
for the sewage to go
Listen here.
except out on the ground.
I believe if you've got an acre of land with a septic tank and county water, and if it's set up, if he's got a $190,000 camper, I'm sure he's got a nice pavilion that sits under and everything else.
Right, well, I think that's a little outside of what is intended,
And
certainly.
I'm using that for a
and-
drastic
Right,
circumstance.
and that would be, and that is not what this is intended to. It's the ones
The
that
way
are,
people interpret it.
That's
sitting
correct.
out.
My interpolation and everything,
It's
that's
like
what,
no camper.
that's
Would
where
be
I'm saying is.
Covered under this, the way that it is currently written, just for you to consider, like,
Right.
So,
but for every $199,000 camper trailer, you have a pop-up trailer.
so,
I concur with that 100%.
So-
I got one 2 streets over right now. I'm not saying that at all. But for us to do something and put a blanket on it, then I got an issue with that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have something in there that protects our marshal, our permitting office in the county as far as that goes, as far as some of these dwellings, but we gotta be careful on how we restrict and what we're considering, and I don't even wanna mention but our current
so,
tax assessor, the amounts going out, and it's gonna prohibit a lot of stuff, and it's gonna force people to be into this, and so I think we're adding to another issue in the county as far as we're looking at a monetary value of something. We gotta take monetary value out of it, because one person's value of $1 may not be the same as another's, and so then we've got, I don't wanna have somebody that be able to do something that it infringes on their neighbor either. I mean, that's what we're trying to see, I'm assuming,
Exactly.
but an infringement on my neighbor according to what buildings are or whatever, it's just something that's gonna have to be really talked about and discussed. It's not gonna be something blanket.
Why don't we
throw
do
in there
this?
and have the marshal affect it.
why don't we schedule a work session and have the marshal come sit down with us and we can talk through this? I mean, this has been a problem in this county for, 20 years, so there's no sense in trying to solve it tonight. I mean, if y'all good with
I
that.
concur 100%.
Yeah, I don't think you can solve it tonight, because I agree with, Bill, if you you got a camper parked out there and there is no septic, no sewer, none of that stuff, then that's an issue. You can't have a house like that, so you shouldn't be allowed to do that. But at the same time, if you got a pole and permit and power and all that kind of stuff and run into a septic tank,
Water meter.
yeah.
You're paying for water, you put a septic tank in and that, and you have your, I mean, that's a whole
I
different.
don't know if there's some permitting requirement, if we
Yeah,
wanna
I
go
mean,
down that road, and some age of, unit and all that kind of stuff, just like you do with mobile home, but I think there's a lot of
I
that to
think you'll
start
have to
thinking
go
about.
down that road because if you have a acre piece of land and you have all the infrastructure you're talking about, but you won't let them build a tiny home on it because it doesn't fit your
Right.
restrictions, then how are you saying it's okay to put that camper out there instead of a stick-built tiny home or 800 square foot home for, mom and dad to live out behind your house? So I think you'll have to look at both sides
I
of it
agree.
and the restrictions on what you're doing on that zoned, however the property's zoned, to, if you're not gonna allow me to build an 800 square foot true home.
Right.
So I think you'll have to look at both sides.
I'm fine with that. Can you get us a work session scheduled for
I want to do it next month or in a couple weeks.
y'all? I mean, y'all good, say 2 weeks from now?
I'll be gone the 18th through the 26th, I'll tell you. 27th, I'll be gone 2 weeks, next week. Following week, I'll be gone. 2 weeks, I'll be good.
Y'all good with that?
Yes, sir.
I'll have to get with the marshal too and make sure he's available.
Fine. Like I said,
I'll have to get with Drew and make sure he's available as well, but within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
I mean, if it's easier, we can come in an hour before our next meeting and do a work session prior to our meeting, if that's easier for you guys. Item number 4, review subdivision ordinances.
I don't know if y'all have read these. But there are a lot of issues to address.
Okay. You want to cover it? What's been brought up that's, I kind of feel like somebody just, threw it out here and I ain't got a clue what's out here, so.
Just a quick question on this list. I guess this had something to do with the,
Those
Part
are
B,
the
or-
permits that have been issued this year.
Request.
For-
Extend from last
Stanley
request
had
from Mr.
asked.
McCain.
okay, I wasn't here for that one, so, okay.
It's just letting us know, and I appreciate whoever put this together. I appreciate it, so. So what issues you got, Miss Vicky? You
Well,
want,
and one of, there's a lot, and that's why we kind of need to go over them and fix. 'Cause
Okay.
I have notes on almost every single page.
so we need to come in at lunch for our work session.
Well, I figure if we can't get through the first 10, let's get through what we can, and then start back up at the next work session, because there's a lot.
Okay.
Just a couple of instances, it says that we hold on to the HOA fees, we do not. Pretty much the zoning, permitting and zoning department's gonna choose which way the roads run, we do not. There is some confusion as to minor and major subdivision. So, for instance, if somebody comes in and they split their property into 4 pieces. Well, if it's A1, that's pretty much along the zoning, except for they need more road frontage. And there's a larger setback. But if it's R2, does it still go by the same? Because it doesn't specify how it's zoned, if that's the case. There's a lot.
So do you have a redacted version of this, or you went through here and you said, hey, I want to strike the collection of HOA fees and us deciding which way the roads run and,
I mean, yeah, but I'd like y'all to look over it
Okay.
and see what you think, as you read through it. Because there's so many things that I missed. Glenn and I both went over it together twice and still found stuff.
okay.
So from a zoning point of view as well,
Vicky, do you think that we need to give them a copy
Yeah.
of what we did and when we made the corrections?
yes, ma'am.
And,
That's, yeah.
and let them take it home and go over it and
Do you have yours with you? Yeah. Will you get some copies for them?
Again, I think that would be the fairest thing is let us go through it and,
I've gone through a lot of it, and the very first thing on one of them that I got, and this is a question to the attorney, in 4-5, section C.
I'm trying.
You're good. I was looking a while ago. We're just fair.
Here's the pages over there.
11.
There you go, thank you.
Wow, mine's got 1 of 10.
It is 1 of 10.
Okay.
Oh, that's just the definitions.
Yeah. So, I want,
Oh, it should be the second, page 1, I believe.
Yeah, that's what it was. It threw me off when he said 11. I was like,
Well, because I printed mine all at one time, but
Mr. Warren.
y'all don't need the whole thing.
I got you.
I mean, that's a long thing to read right there. I need an understanding on, the first 2 sentences. Subdivision of land. No person shall sell, advertise, or offer to sell by deed, map, plat, or other instrument of any parcel of land not subdivided under the requirements of this chapter.
So, but basically, I think it means,
well, I think it further defines it. It says that if it's not been approved or recorded in accordance, right?
But what I'm saying is that this, in my understanding, this county and the state, no one has authority for me to sell somebody a piece of property. Where the authority comes in is where the county will allow a permit on that piece of property that I sold.
but you can't sell a piece of property under the premise that it can be subdivided in a way that is not necessarily
Let's look at
permitted.
this situation. If he would take this,
I 100% agree.
And I think that is what it's saying. So,
If you keep reading down through there, it all comes back about the permit office has to approve it. So what I'm saying is, so the gentleman we just had, the 3 parcel split, if he owned that, bought that 5 acres and want to sell the gentleman to below him 100-foot strip on it, there's no authority for the county to say that he can't do that.
I think it may just be that we need to clean up the wording.
I 100% agree. That is 100% my point.
Right.
A lot of wordage in there that needs to be removed and taken, and some others added to it to define that. Because then it goes in and talks about transfer of sale and all that and everything. I mean, the county can't restrict anybody from selling any of the property.
Right.
If the pretense comes in, if you do mislead someone and it gets to it, then that's where it comes as a problem. When it comes to the permit office and it comes back to illegal split, they don't have to issue a permit on that, then that's where that comes in. But as far as the way that's written right there, I think that's a false statement.
Okay.
What is the confusion on major minor subdivisions that you understand, Vicky?
Well, mine was the zoning issue more than, so if somebody comes in, okay, say Matt has a piece of land, it's R1, he wants to split it into 4 pieces of property. Well, does it have to go into the new subdivision ordinance, because this says 3 or more?
See, I thought what we voted on was anytime it splits beyond the 3, which would be 1 parent and 2 parcels, it is a major subdivision. I thought
Correct.
that's what we voted
I
on.
think what, you know,
So
I
no
mean,
matter what it was zoned.
well, that goes back to subdivision minor that's in the definitions, okay?
Where it says 3 or more.
Well, I guess let me go back and ask another question. Where did you
page
print
10.
this from? Is this a file you have in your office?
I got it
Okay,
off
so it's on
Communicode.
code. So everything in our book that's provided is not the same, and I referenced this to you guys earlier last week. There's some things that's in this book that's been given to us that I got, maybe it's older or whatever, but it doesn't reflect mini code.
We have seen some issues with what is on Municode, and we're working on that. We just
So
haven't
where,
isolated
I'll
who
throw
has the
myself
right
under the
thing.
bus here when I walk out of here and a gentleman approaches me to do subdivide a piece of property or do work on his property, the book, is that what I am to follow? Is the code online?
Avery we have on our system the correct code. What we will do is redline it against what is online and see what is wrong. And that is on our to-do list to do. So I would just
So again,
hesitate to tell you which one to use because I need to go look and see.
again, when I walk out here tomorrow morning, nobody has what you have. What is
Right.
law, what was voted on, and what's published,
That's what we have to determine, which is which, so.
and I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that in this meeting. Tomorrow I come up and the gentleman asks me that, what do I follow? I'm just saying, I mean, I need to know, I mean, we can't hold the
Does the
public
permits
hostage.
office have what you have?
What does the permits office have?
We have what's on Municode.
You have what's on Municode.
So Municode would supersede. I mean, that's what you're issuing permits by, yeah.
That's my point, what I'm trying to,
Well, that's why we're here today.
because back to what Vicky asked, minor subdivisions in the definitions, and here's where the confusion comes in. It says minor subdivisions means a subdivision into lots having a minimum lot area of at least 5 acres. This gentleman here brought in a minor subdivision of 3 tracts. It's a 5 acre, meets the zoning, but by that definition, he cannot do that split because he don't have 5 acre tracts.
Well,
So that, there needs to be a
what page is that on?
definition.
It's on page 10. The
10 of 41. So that,
first set.
that 5 acres, it needs to have in parentheses or current zoning. I think that's where Vicky's question came in. And the very first question is, if we've got something that's 40 acres of R1 out there, is it gotta be 5 acres? By that definition, it does.
Yeah.
But it's currently zoned as that, and by law, you can do what's in that zoning, not by definition, my opinion.
It contradicts itself.
Yes, and I know it's what we're trying to fix, but those are a couple of things, and that's why I go back to code, online, what are we having to follow?
It's over on the last page of the definitions. But I was looking in our, and we don't have that in what I brought with me. I do have,
So it
oh gosh.
sounds like we need a longer work session than an hour. So Probably looking at more like a retreat.
It's up to you guys, I mean, we may have to split it up and
Yeah.
only do one or two pieces at a time, but.
Yeah. I thought I mean, this is 2004, 24, so. We spent what, a week on it last time, so.
And I think it got even altered more after that.
I spent 18 sessions of multiple hours last time,
Yeah.
and this does not reflect any of, all of our work. I'll make that note.
Well, I mean, I think this board needs to give it the time it deserves to get it right, so, I say just throw some dates out there and if we can. Jeff, I don't know what your schedule looks like or bills or whatever, but we need several hours to sit down and get the conversation started.
Yeah, I think the starting point is take this document and take what they've already marked up. They've identified some stuff, and then they didn't mark it, then we mark it and bring it all together in one document.
Which if you said that your office has a
I
current
think that
copy,
We have the current copy, and I'm emailing my assistant right now to put it on her to-do list for tomorrow to get that comparison. So I didn't want to forget or make it take even longer, so I was jumping on it.
I mean, it may be fair to do this in August. I mean, give them time to see what they got. We can go through this, after you give us a copy of what you've already done. And,
If we can get that, then we'll get it out to all of you guys as quickly as we get it for you.
Yeah, I don't want to have
See
red
what-
lines if you're already red lines. It's
Yeah.
something that you've already picked up and
I think-
everything. It's probably some of that may be some of the things that
Some of the
I
confusion.
got questions on.
Yeah.
So I don't want to review what I have provided to me, mark up, send in. I'd like to have what yourself, that you've already prepared, that you've found already. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
I think it's fair. Any more on item 4? Do you have anything else? I feel like you did, though.
Does that match what you have?
So, you've got a copy of the bylaws that this planning commission operates by, that we brought up in the past, and we had sat down with Avery Jackson, the county attorney, and requested some changes be made, and I don't know that we ever followed through with making those changes.
This is for the bylaws.
Yes, ma'am. Do y'all have a copy of the bylaws in front of you?
Yes, sir.
So like item number, officers and their duties. It calls out that the planning commission shall consist of a chairman, vice chairman, and a secretary. These officers shall be elected. So I think we agreed last time that the secretary not be an officer, just be more of an administrative portion of the zoning board. And I think we need to fix that verbiage. And then item number 2 calls out that the chairman only votes in a case of a tie. So we need to make a decision where we want to leave it that way, or the chairman has a vote. And again, this is something I'd like for y'all to take home and go back through, especially since we got 2 new board members since this came about, so we can adopt official bylaws for us to operate by. And just some housekeeping stuff, like on page 2, in meetings, it refers to the third Tuesday at 10 a.m. We meet at 4. And then item number 4, it calls that the planning commission shall be approved by at least a majority, and I think it should actually be worded a quorum of 3. I'm just giving you what we talked about last time, so you can not waste any time.
I think also on that, back up to that too, at the time on that, we had 4 PM or designated time. In case we needed to change that time or whatever, that didn't restrict you in your bylaws to at 4 o'clock every meeting.
Well, it just says your regular meetings, that doesn't mean work sessions, so your voting meetings, you would probably need to hold at 4 PM, but your work sessions or retreats could change.
I hold my tongue, I got opinions about all that anyway.
Well, I think we got an attorney that could put some verbiage in there
Yeah.
to get what you're saying. I'm fine with that. So that's all we discussed last time. We just never took any action, to my knowledge, and actually voted on changing it. And then the other thing I have that I'd like to bring up is the current bylaws, which is what we actually are operating underneath, tell us that we're supposed to elect officers once a year, and they hold the position for 1 year, which we missed that. It was supposed to be done in March. Do we need to go through that motion? Do we need to leave it the way it stands? Can we do it now that we've missed it?
I mean, sorry, I'm trying to get to where you are.
It's on page 2.
I see it.
It's,
Did you hold an annual organizational meeting?
we didn't. Oh, we did, yes, but we didn't
But
do
you
anything.
didn't vote. I can look into it. I would assume that there is a way to, like, if you miss it, to do something, thereafter, because currently you would assume that the positions are vacant because there was no election.
That's right.
So there has to be some mechanism for it, and I'll just see
Okay.
what I'm able to find.
I think your number 1 is gonna tell you that. Nomination officer shall be nominated committee appointed by the chairman, February meeting. So until that happens, the other can't follow.
Let's see, I would be under the impression that probably needs to change some verbiage there. I don't think that we need a nominating committee appointed by the chairman. We kind of already have a committee, we have a board, so.
I'm with you. I'm just,
It's like,
to answer your question though, is can we do this at any time type thing?
it's like planning a meeting, so we can get together and plan a meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's all I have on that, if you guys want to read through that, and I don't know that that's that big of an item that can't just come up with something and move with it next time we get together. And then she hopefully can have us an answer on what we need to do about that. Any more business? Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?